and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're regular here, you know I review many photographic, audio and video related products. Well, recently, in the last 2 or 3 weeks, I've been looking at photography with mobile phones. I've never enjoyed mobile phone photography. I've never liked the way you handle it, and I've never enjoyed the photographs that come off of mobile phones. I've always thought they're very inferior and they're not worth bothering with. Until now. I recently purchased iPhone 12 Pro Max, which we have here, and I love this phone. It's great, and it's got the 3 camera modules on the back, 12 megapixel cameras, and they're absolutely flipping brilliant. So because of that, there'll be a link up here somewhere, or up here I think, isn't it, to the 12 Pro Max, my initial thoughts on the 12 Pro Max. But then I saw the release of the iPhone 13 Pro, 13 Pro Max, or 13 range, and I actually purchased a 13 Pro, and that's got the 3 camera modules on the back, again very similar to the 12 Pro Max. What we will be doing is going through some of the images that I took with the 13 Pro, and I've also done some video, but that being a separate video, in a separate video. And the results are outstanding. Now, the 13 Pro has the same camera modules as the 13 Pro Max. That's the first time Apple have done that, because with the 12 Pro Max, this one here, the 3 modules here, were quite different to the 12 Pro. So, and that's why I went with the 12 Pro Max. Also, it's a bigger screen, which is great for me. But with the 13 Pro has the same camera modules as the Pro Max, so I didn't need to spend the money on a Pro Max. I just went for the 13 Pro. The modules are thicker. You're never going to be able to see that on here, but that module bump, the camera bump, is actually thicker on the 13 Pro Max and the 13 Pro than it is on the 12 Pro and the 12 Pro Max, because they've changed the cameras. What they've also done, they've put a new mode in here called cinematic mode, and that is phenomenal. I've played with it and I really enjoy it. It creates a fake bokeh when you're filming, and again, you'll see some video clips in another video about that. I'm going to go into more detail about cinematic mode in another video rather than in this video. It's a story in its own right. It's a completely new way of filming, and I think it's going to completely, over the next 2 or 3 years, this kind of technology, this computational technology, is really going to change the landscape of how we take photographs and how we take video. I really do believe that now. I didn't believe that a year or so ago. I thought mobile phone photography was all gimmicky. It certainly isn't, and that's how I'm going to go through some of these images to show you. Now, on the 13 Pro and the 13 Pro Max, the camera modules, 12 megapixel cameras. The main camera is equivalent to 26mm camera. Not that you can see that because they all look exactly the same, but the main camera is a 26mm camera. The telephoto camera is equivalent to 77mm, and the ultra wide is equivalent to 13mm. So you've got a good range there. You've got a good range of lenses for quite a wide spectrum of photography, from street photography to landscapes to obviously your general family type of photography, and video. And I'm really excited about that, because it now means I can just take out my iPhone 13 Pro or my 12 Pro Max and know that it's going to take as good of photographs, and in some respects better photographs, from my Sony RX100 or my Sony ZV-1. Certainly not my APS-C cameras like my Fuji XS10 and my Sony A7C, which is full frame. You absolutely at the moment can't expect it to do that. The sensor sizes in these mobile phones are so small that they aren't going to compete with the bigger cameras, but they're certainly competing with the 1-inch sensor cameras. And I really see the market for 1-inch sensor cameras is going to diminish even more than it already has. And I never thought I would say that. I'm actually working on a separate video where I'm doing a comparison between the ZV-1 and the 12 Pro Max. And I am absolutely blown away how good the 12 Pro Max is, and in fact the photographs are coming out better than what they are on the ZV-1, and that is scary. That really does, I find that scary anyway, you know. If you're wondering why there's a cable plugged in the bottom of this camera, this phone camera, well, it is a camera in this phone. It's basically a HDMI lead, so I can show you some of the features of the camera features of this new phone. So in fact, we'll have a look at that now. So basically, the phone, you know, it's fast, it's snappy, it's got a new A15 Bionic chip. I'm not really particularly interested in going through what the phone can do because it's a mobile phone, for heaven's sake. Is you know, nothing special. But with the camera features, that's what I'm, you know, that's what I'm really fascinated by. Now, it has got it's a very simple layout, and that's one beautiful thing with the iPhone. Well, all the iPhones, a really simple layout. And then you just scroll through whether you want video, whether you want take photographs. And in the top left-hand corner here, we've got a mode where it says raw or not raw. So you just push on that, and then you either take it into raw. I don't know if that's coming up actually on the screen. Doesn't look like it is. It must be. So it takes raw DNG files, as well as conventional JPEG or HEIC files. The HEIC compression is a better compression, but the results are still fantastic. And modern software such as Lightroom, Capture One, Luminar, they can all work with HEIC files. Well, I've certainly found them able to, but I use the DNG files. I always make sure that the RAW is on and you know, not crossed out, as it were. That way, when you download them to your computer, you get an option of two files. You either get, well, you get RAW and HEIC or JPEG, or just RAW only, and that is brilliant. But it's so simple. And then if you want to choose your wide lens, just click on the wide button and you've got your wide lens. And then you've got your standard, and you've got your telephoto. It's a 3 times telephoto lens on the new iPhone 13s as opposed to 2 times. So it's equivalent to about 77mm. The iPhone 12 Pro Max was about 67mm. This is now 77mm, and it's optical. It's not a digital zoom, it's an optical zoom. So again, the results are great. The results really are good. And I am, as I say, I'm going to go through some of these results with you. But if we have a quick look at cinematic mode, let's go into cinema mode. Cinematic mode. Now again, this is for video because it has the same computational photography for photographs, and they call it portrait mode. And we've all, well, I say we've all seen that. Most of us have seen how that works, and it's getting better and better and better. Now they've incorporated it into video called cinematic mode. And it works great. So, and you can choose what f-stop you want the blur to be. So I've got that set to f2.2. I can change that to whatever I want. So I can change that to f4. Let's have a look. See, yeah, that's set now. Oops, that's filming. Let's stop that from recording. Let's go back to the f-stop. So that's set to f2. 2.8 and so forth, and that will affect the blur. So if you look at, that's now focused on the foreground, that's now focusing on the camera. How does that work? Isn't that phenomenal? And if you look at that, you can see the background is now out of focus. That is outstanding. That is outstanding. You can see my little jogger there on my computer, so me reminding me what the specs are, because you never remember them. But you can see there's the 2 cameras. It's focusing on, in fact, it's focusing on that, on the, no, I can actually push the screen and it will change to, now it's focusing on the other camera. Tap it on that camera, it's focusing on that one. And incredible. That is absolutely so cinematic. Hence the reason they called it cinematic mode. So you can tap the screen and it'll pull focus. It does rack focusing. Now, you can also do this, apparently, not that I've played with it yet, you can also do this in post. You'd have to do it on the phone because the software isn't available for like Final Cut Pro 10 or whatever, but you can choose the focus point after you filmed it. I just find that staggering, you know. And I found also with doing that, what you have to do is then so you have to do it on the phone and then output it, save it as a separate file. Because when I transferred some files yesterday in cinematic mode, they weren't in cinematic mode. I found that I had to go into the edit mode and then edit it and then export it. So a little extra process, but it's still phenomenal. But I just find that staggering that you can just, you know, a click of a button and you've got, you know, this computational work going on. And they're saying it's, you can do it with the camera, I keep calling it, where is the camera? We'll do it automatically, but you can do it manually. Yeah, look, this is hunting a little bit there, so it's not perfect, but it's still flipping clever. And if you use it carefully and sparingly, you'll find it works great. Now, there is a downside. It's only doing it in HD at the moment, certainly with this particular model. It's only doing it in HD, and I suspect that's because, as I said in one of my videos, that's probably because of two things. A, the computing power to do it in 4K would be tremendous, but also HD is just that teeny bit softer. Well, it's four times less resolution, so it's going to be a bit softer. It's going to hide the imperfections more than what 4K would do. So that could be the two reasons. Now, if we look at the images, now let's take a look at some of these images that we've got here. Now, I've got them loaded in Capture One Pro. In fact, Capture One Pro is a great bit of software. There is, if you follow the link in the description below, there is a link to my website where you can download a trial version of Capture One Pro, as well as Luminar and one or two other photo editing software. But with Capture One Pro, if you really enjoy it after you've downloaded the trial version, use the code AVP10 to get 10% off your purchase price if you buy it or subscribe to it. It's a great offer and a great bit of software. I'm using it all the time because I genuinely think it is a great bit of software. So now let's look at what these photographs are. Now, these are all DNG files, just in the garden. That's in the conservatory. Lovely detail there. It's nice and crisp, sharp. I do think they come out a little bit over sharpened, but again, great thing in here, you can go into the sharpening module because they're DNG files. You can reduce the sharpening bits because they're raw files, and I do that, and I think I would recommend that because otherwise they look a bit digital. They look a bit mobile phony. Not phony, but you know, as if they're from a mobile phone, but now they don't. And they're lovely. The colours, everything about them is great. I just love, I mean, look at the reds in that. Gorgeous, you know, it's holding the detail. I say sharpness, we all talk about sharpness, but it isn't all about sharpness. Detail, I think, is different to sharpness, but again, look at this one here. If we look at the before and after and take that full screen, now that's how it came out the camera, but because it's DNG file, I brought the detail back in the plants and in the wall. Look, it's blown out there, but the detail's brought back into it there. Absolutely great, isn't it? Love it. And if we go through, you know, again, the sharpness there, and look at the detail. That's, let's go back to full screen. So that's how it came out the camera. No, very little detail in that, I don't know what it is, bits of metal all hooked together, is it? I don't know. But now you can see the detail in it. And if we zoom in there, excellent, isn't that? Look at that, beautiful. Now, I haven't printed any of these up yet, so I don't know how well they'll print. I'm very, very convinced that they'll print beautifully. And again, if we look at that, that came out very overexposed. Look at the details in the trees up here. phenomenal, isn't it? You can see it, the detail is there, you know. So I would highly recommend that you shoot raw. And again, if you look at this one here, look down the garden path here. It's all in shadow, but you can bring the detail back. I'm pretty sure that was unheard of a few years back with mobile phones, you know. And it's working out better than I say than my ZV-1. I'm loving the colours. I'm just loving, you know. Now again, this was, to me, was a really good example. I really like, well, I say really like, but it's not a great photograph, but I really like the concepts of this image because that particular image has shadows and has really bright highlights with the sun coming through. But if we look at what I've done in Capture One, and you'd be able to do in you know, other software. Now that's how it came out the camera. Now that don't look too bad, although the wall is completely washed out, but there's enough detail in that raw file to bring that wall and the brickwork. You see here, there's no detail in the brickwork there at all. Look at that, brought it right back, and I've lifted the shadows. You can see more detail in the brickwork here and in the plants. So that's how it came out, and that's how, you know, it's ended up. So, and that hasn't taken long. In Capture One, probably Lightroom, Luminar, you know, it doesn't take long to get used to how the software works and how you can bring detail back into images. And I didn't think that was even capable or possible with a mobile phone. And using the 13 Pro and the 12 Pro Max, it has proven that as long as you shoot in RAW, it is perfectly capable. It's capable of doing that. And I haven't done any low light images yet. That's something I need to do. I know I'm going to get asked. I do get asked by many people, how good is it in low light? There seems to be a fascination that people want to take photographs in the dark. Low light, I think, is quite different to taking photographs in near darkness. But I will do a test just to see how good the mobile phone is in low light. It has got night mode and various other modes to, you know, again, using computational photography, maths basically, to create a really good image. So I'm hoping that it does create a really good image in low light. But yeah, these images are, you know, exactly what I hoped. And I say I never expected a mobile phone to be able to create such, I would say, stunning images. And the sharpness is there. The sharpness, the clarity, the detail. I mean, the detail is lovely in that brickwork. And of course, going with, you know, a 12 megapixel sensor. There's all this about cameras, bigger, more megapixels, more and more and more. But the fewer the megapixel count, the better the light gathering is for the sensor, because the photodiodes are bigger, so they capture more light. I don't think I'd want to be cropping too tight because it would show the pixels. I'm sure the pixel count would get worse, but you can crop to a certain degree, and you know, I think it's great. I think it's certainly, as I said earlier, competing very, very much now with these 1-inch sensor cameras, not necessarily the APS-C and the full frame cameras, but that will come. I can now see how that will definitely come. But there we go. That's my very initial thoughts. I've had the phone stroke camera system for 1 day now. It came yesterday afternoon, and I wanted to get this video done, you know, as soon as I could, so you guys and girls could get a feeling as to what I think of this rather awesome, you know, mobile phone stroke camera. Lovely design. It is a fingerprint magnet. The sides are a fingerprint magnet, as people have said, but I don't give a hoot about that. As long as the phone itself is responsive, which it is, you know, even with a HDMI feed coming out of it, it is very responsive. The camera modules are great, even though they're a bit thicker. So obviously, if you've got an iPhone 12, sorry, 12 Pro, because this is the 13 Pro, the cases are not going to fit. You're going to have to get new cases. So I mean, that's, you know, it is what it is, isn't it? You know, But yeah, no, very responsive. What I would say, if you're doing video, the only thing I have noticed with video, more so than photography really, so let's go back to video, the standard video setting, you've got no control over shutter speeds, apertures, the exposure. I think you've got exposure compensation. It'll do exposure compensation if I remember rightly. Somewhere here, I think it will do that, but not with, it hasn't got full manual control, and particularly in cinematic mode, which is a real pity. Cinematic mode is really designed to simulate a cinema image, and it is a shame there is no manual control. What you got is what you got, from what I can see, unless the only thing you can adjust is what aperture the fake bokeh, the computational photography, is going to be, you know, so you can adjust the aperture from f2 right the way through, I guess, to, you know, almost everything in focus. There are other apps that I use for video. If we have a look, I've got them on here. One I really do enjoy is ProTake. I use that a lot, yeah. So I do use ProTake a lot. It's got Pro mode as well as fully auto mode, but Pro mode is great. So you can set your shutter speed manually. You see all the controls on the top here. You can set your frame rate, shutter speed, whatever you want. But of course, you don't get that computational work. You know, that will now be, those two cameras will be pretty much sharp, you know. But it's a great bit of software, and I will be doing more on that again in a future video. But yeah, great phone, great cameras, and a great purchase. Really, really enjoying using it. And I know now my lights have gone out. A great camera and a great mobile phone, a great experience. And I certainly know now that I don't have to worry about taking out something like the RX100 Mark 5A that I've got, or my ZV-1. I shove this, either the 13 Pro or the 12 Pro Max, probably the 13 Pro, because the lens configuration is better than the 12 Pro Max, and the apertures are better. It's basically an all-round a better camera module system. Not a great deal better, but just that little bit better. I am going to London next week, so I'm going to get some shots, you know, in low light, on the underground, so I can actually see how good it really is then. And I'd be doing another video about its low light capabilities once I've got, you know, some of those sort of photographs. So there we go. Hope you found this video useful. Please subscribe to my channel if you haven't already done so, and hit the like button if you like the content of this video. Would really, really appreciate that. Helps me grow the channel. I do read all the comments as well, so please leave comments in the comment section. That also helps me grow the channel. I do reply to as many as I can. Unfortunately, I don't reply to all of them, but thanks very much for watching. And I say, download the trial versions of Capture One and Luminar, see how you get on with them, and don't forget to use the coupon code AVP10 if you do want to purchase Capture One, and AVP to get $10 off if you want to purchase Luminar 4 or Luminar AI. They're great bits of software. I love them. And as I say, the camera's great. There will be a separate video about filming with the iPhone 12 Pro Max and the iPhone 13. That'll be coming out soon. So stay tuned for that. So thanks very much, and see you again on the next one. Cheers for now. Bye.